Hello and welcome to a spoiler reading vlog for Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. I'm starting this in the middle of September in between all of my magical readathon reads, so it didn't really fit in any of those vlogs, and because this is such a beloved fantasy book, I thought it would be really fun to do a spoiler reading vlog for it. I was reading some of this at work. I got about 50, almost 60 pages in, 3 chapters, and I have to say I'm being swept away by this. I loved it so much, what I read so far. I just want to tell you that everything will be spoilers from here on out. I will give you a quick synopsis, and then if you haven't read it and you don't want to be spoiled, you're going to have to go away because I am going to spoil everything. Also, wanted to mention that I'm reading this for the Shelf This Book Club hosted by Bailey at Is Bailey Reading, and the person who chose it was Danielle at Danielle Reads. So Danielle and I think, have somewhat similar taste, and I feel like I've been reading more and more things that she has read, or she has read some more things that I read, and I'm starting to learn where our tastes are the same and where they're not the same. So I'm going to be really excited to kind of read this alongside her. I've already started talking in the Discord chat for the book club, and I can't wait to see what she thinks when she reads it. But anyways, a very quick synopsis of this because I don't know what is the spoiler and what isn't. There is a woman named Siona, I believe is how you say her name, and she is given a chance every 10 years. This group of mages called the High Magistry gives a woman a chance to apply every 10 years. And Siona has been studying magic for a really long time, and she's going to take the test to try to become a high mage. But she's like the only woman who's going to do it, and she would be the first woman to ever become a high mage. And so she is basically going to take this test. And I'm going to leave it there, but it's just about like this woman trying to infiltrate this high magistry by becoming a high mage and proving that women can be high mages. So definitely like dark academia-ish vibes, but also very fantasy. Okay, if you don't want spoilers, you need to leave now because I will start spoiling chapter 1 right now. So chapter 1 starts with a lot of stuff that I have no context for still. There's something called a blight that's like terrorizing people, and these people have to cross like this open frozen lake, I guess, and they're like trying to run across it while the blight, which is kind of like this light, is like attacking them. And we see that a young girl is saved by her uncle. He carries her into the city that is like protected by this like dome, this magical dome, that the weather is more temperate inside, and also this blight can't get in there. So I was reading that first chapter, and at first, the first few pages, I was like, okay, not really sure exactly what's happening. This is weird. By like page 5, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like turning the pages. I was fighting back tears as like her parents died. Like first her dad, and then when her mom falls through the ice and the uncle's like carrying her and he's about to give up because he's like, my whole family's dead. And the mom like, struggles up to like tell him to run, and he like runs in to like save her and is like practically dead himself, but is trying to save this young girl. I was like fighting back tears. Like I was tearing up as I was reading it, and I just thought it was such a stellar opening scene, like way to set the bar so high for what I expect. In like action scenes, I felt like everything was very perfectly paced for an action sequence. Like I was like wanting to read faster, and I felt like the writing was aiding me in reading faster. I find that happens a lot with Brandon Sanderson books, his action scenes are so clear and concise that like I'm like turning the pages a lot, like what's gonna happen, oh my gosh, and I feel like that was happening in this book. So stellar opening. Then that was in chapter 1. Chapter 2 is talking about a woman named Siona who is entering a test to try to become a high mage, who's someone of importance. Women are only allowed to audition once every decade, and she is the woman that's going to be auditioning. And it's kind of like prove to us that women should even be allowed to audition. And it's kind of like she feels like if she can't pass the test, she's like, well, then I'm the proof that women can't be high mages if I'm not good enough. And she is very smart. This magic system is so interesting, and I don't really understand it yet, and I don't know if I ever will. It's very smart. There's like something about like there's a bit of like coding involved with it, with like an if then statements that like if this happens then this will happen, then this will happen, that's like written into the spell that's being cast. And there's like matter and energy and power and stuff like that, and it's really cool. And I really liked reading about like the test, and she actually passes, and that's kind of where I left off. But I really like Siona as a character. She seems like she could be very unlikable, but I'm also rooting for her. Like, she knows what she wants. She wants to be a high mage. She was going to do everything that she needed to do to get it. And she enjoys learning. She enjoys excelling in a male-dominated field. And she became the first woman to ever be accepted as a high judge, like, in history. And we're definitely already seeing that, like, some of the archmages, which are like the highest like council of mages in this city, some of them are maybe quite threatened by her being there. Like, being shown up by a woman is going to make them a little upset. And the fact that when you're like the first of anyone to do something, whether you're like, there's a guy who's like the youngest ever archmage, and it's like clearly his legacy is being a little bit overshadowed when it's like the first woman to do something, and she's very skilled. And so it's very interesting reading about it. I like that the magic seems to have like consequences. Like, it can be very dangerous to use it if you miscalculate something. Like, you can create a lot of danger by doing something poorly. So I like that. I feel like there's lots of room then for things to go terribly wrong. I am nervous that her advisor, who's been like helping her get to this point, is going to be evil. I hope not. He seems too good to be true. He's such a nice character. Like, him congratulating her after she got in and like being like, High Mage Siona, like, I'll see you tomorrow. And he seems so happy for her to have like risen up. I mistrust it. I hope there's not something going on, but I'm afraid that there is something going on. So that'll be interesting. But chapter 4, it starts on page 59. So I flew through this. I read this in just like a couple hours of reading at work today, and so I think that I'm gonna make good progress. I'm in the middle of quite a few fantasies right now, but I'm enjoying all of them, and I feel like this one is going to be easy to like set apart by itself. I think it will be really fun to read. I'm so excited that Danielle chose this and that I'm getting an excuse to read it now, because I've heard so many good things about it. Really liking the Dark Academia vibes for September, and also like the nitty gritty mathy magic is like really cool to read about it. I love it. I'm so excited to read more about someone like exploring magic and trying to like be great in a field of academia. I love that. I love learning. I love school. I have 3 separate degrees because I keep going back to school for different things, and it's something that I love. Like, I don't like the tests and the papers and the proving that I've learned, but learning something is like, it's fun to me. I really like it. So reading about learning and about someone who's very passionate about learning and exploring and excelling in an area of magic is really cool to me. So that was kind of a long update on a very short part of this book, but I just wanted to give you like a clear feeling of where I'm at, which is that I'm immediately sucked in. It's rare for me to read a book that I am this into. Like, I'm struggling to find issues with it because I'm just like, it's good, it's interesting, it's fun, it's intense. Like, ML Wong is such a great writer. I can already tell from what I've read so far that I just think this is going to be a really good book. I'm excited. I'm back with an update. Blue is here, so if you hear some meowing or some purring, he's here, he's hanging out. Maybe he'll get up and say hi, and I can hold him and talk at the same time. He does sometimes let me hold him like a baby when he really wants attention. And he just gets pets. He's so sweet. I love him so much. Yeah. So I have been reading Blood Over Brighthaven, and I've been loving it. It's so good. It reads so quickly, and it's so compelling. I love our main character, Siona, and how we can both be rooting for her and not rooting for her. Like, I was talking about this in the Discord in some spoiler chats, that I want Siona to succeed as a high mage. However, I'm like, I want you to succeed if you, like, learn that, like, injustice that doesn't affect you is still injustice. Because she's all up in arms about the fact that women can't be high mages, and women are rarely allowed to even try to be a high mage or things like that. She's all upset about it, but then when it comes to are they called Quen? Yeah, when the Quen are being discriminated against and talked down to, she, like, has so much embedded racism that, like, she doesn't catch herself. She'll be like, oh my gosh, you guys are all so dramatic. It's totally true. You are really melodramatic. And her, I don't know if it's a love interest. I'm going to be interested to see if the relationship between her and Tamil actually, like, manifests into anything, because there is quite a bit of, like, tension between them that's, like, they like each other, but it's also, like, she's very racist. And I think it's super interesting because I am in an interracial marriage. My husband is Chinese, I am white, and there are some times where it's like I have to check myself, because being born in America, we have a very racist system. There are a lot of people that are working to dismantle it, but there are so many structures in our country that are racist, and I have to challenge the way I was brought up and the things that I've been taught about, like, racism is dead, and if you just watch Sesame Street, there's, like, someone of every different nationality. Racism is dead. Otherwise, that wouldn't happen. And, like, there's so much of that, like, embedded in us that until we challenge it, it's just there, and it hangs out, and it comes out in bad ways. And I've found that sometimes I can get judgmental, and it's something that I did a lot of work kind of dismantling some of that before I met my husband. But then, like, when you are marrying someone, your lives become so entwined, and you have to learn how to, like, navigate life together and things like that. And it's so interesting, like, seeing Siona and Tamil kind of have this burgeoning relationship with someone who is so entrenched in the racism of the time, and how impossible it feels that they could ever have a relationship. Like, Siona needs to do so much work to even make that a possibility, because right now it's just the power imbalance. She'll find herself like asserting power when she feels threatened by him, because she like knows she can do that, and it's kind of like a reflex of, you're making me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to assert my power over you because I'm the superior one here, and I could get you fired, I could get you thrown in prison if you like step wrong, so like don't come after me. And I think that's so interesting. There was like a conversation that they had, I think it was like chapter 9, where they were talking, and he was like, I can either be respectful to you all the time or I can be honest. And she was like, well, I want you to be both. And he's like, okay, I guess I can try to do both, but I'm going to have to bite my tongue sometimes. And finally she was like, no, I want you to be honest. And that like opened a whole new relationship for them, where she was like allowing him to be on equal footing and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna like jump on you and use my superiority in this country to like keep you in check, basically. Like, I'm gonna allow you to speak your mind and I will listen. And I really liked that. Like, it was really good to see her realize what she was doing and kind of take a step back and be like, no, I think better of this person. But she still has that issue of viewing him as like different from all the other Quen. It's like, well, all the other Quen are this way, but you're different, you're special, which is another like thing with racism and tokenism of being like, well, this one person is good, but like the rest of them are bad. I was reading this yesterday when I was at work when the baby was napping, and when I tell you, we had the biggest reveal that I was not expecting. I was like trying to finish a chapter quick because the baby was awake, but she was happy in her crib. So I was like, I'll finish my chapter and then I'll go get her up. And so I was like speed reading, and oh my gosh, we just got shown they looked into the other realm, which is where they pull their power from for magic. And they found this way to like view it so that you can see like what's really like, it's not like fuzzy. You can actually like see the other realm. And it turns out that the blight that was killing all those people at the beginning is actually the magic. And the other realm is just pulling literally like the power from people's and animals and plants' life forces. It's the magic that is literally like, it'll be like, oh, there's a bunch of magic, there's a bunch of power like here in this spot. Well, it's probably a bunch of people, and when the mages are like pulling magic, it's like murdering those people, all the Quen that live like outside of this barrier of the city. And that, like, I was reading it, and I kid you not, my eyes went insane when I started connecting the dots. I was like reading, and I was reading, and then I was like, oh no, and my eyes were like all over, like, no, don't tell me. Like, I could not keep my eyes from like skipping around on the page. Holy cow. I wish I could have filmed in that moment, because I was like gobsmacked. I was like, whoo-wee. Like, that means a lot. Not only is it like, that's really dark, but it's also like, he and Siona had this moment. How is Siona gonna feel about the blight? And is she going to listen to Tamil? And if she is gonna listen, what's that gonna mean for her station? Because this is like all she's ever wanted is to be a high mage, and they're building this new like barrier expansion. That's like what she's working on as a high mage. And so they're gonna expand the barrier to get like more space for these people to live, but they're gonna pull a huge amount of power out of the other realm to like expand this, and they're gonna need to continually pull more power, which is gonna be killing plants, animals, people from outside of the barrier of Brighthaven. Huge consequences. Holy cow. Emma Wong can write a story. Like, I was not ready for that. We were like doing all this cool magic stuff, and then I was like, this is so cool, this is so fun, and then it was like, oh no, oh no, this magic is like killing people. And I don't know if Siona's gonna react well to that and if she's gonna do what she needs to do. Oh, it's gonna be like, even if she does react well, it's gonna be an uphill battle to figure out what's gonna happen. And if she doesn't react well, whoo, that's gonna be really rough, because then it's gonna be Tomil, who has like no social power at all. But then again, it's like, is Siona gonna back off because she's like, no one will listen to me because I'm a woman? It's messy and I'm nervous, but I'm also excited. I haven't read a page of this since yesterday, but I do want to sit down and read more of it today, because boy, oh boy, was that rough. But also like so good. Oh my gosh, it was such a good moment. And I can't wait for other people in the Shelf This Book Club to read it, because I'm the only one that's been leaving comments so far. No one else has gotten to it yet. And I'm like dying to talk about it with someone. Oh my gosh. I have finished Blood Over Brighthaven. So I have a lot of thoughts. I was reading it as I was heading out this door to a game night yesterday. I was like rapidly trying to finish it before I left, and I finished it and then had to immediately run out the door. So this is the next day, but I still have a lot of thoughts, and I think it was good to kind of have some time to think about all of my thoughts because I had a lot. So, reminder that this is a spoiler vlog. I am going to spoil the ending, so if you are still here, which you shouldn't be if you haven't read the book, please leave, because I will be spoiling everything. So, I read the last 200 pages in about 2 days, roughly 2 sittings. I just kind of buckled down and was like, I'm going to finish this book. I really enjoyed the ending of this book. It got a little slow for me in the middle, like maybe like 250 pages to 350 pages. Those 100 pages, there wasn't a lot of plot happening. There were a lot of discussions, theological discussions, philosophical discussions, morality discussions, sociological discussions. Like, there were lots of things happening, and those individual conversations were all interesting, but I did think it lagged a little in the middle there. Once we got past that, I feel like the plot kind of kicked back in, and it was really intriguing to see what happened. So we had Siona, who decides she wants to do something. She's figured out that magic is killing people, and she's like, we're going to do something. So her big idea was to make like this mapping spell that people could use so they could like open up the other realm, see what they're going to grab energy from, and avoid people. They're like, we'll figure out, you know, what they're going to do to help the Quen who are outside and starving, because all the life force from like plants and animals is being like sucked out of the world from the mages. And she's like, we can figure that out later. Let's just get them to stop killing people. And she goes to her mentor, and surprise, surprise, he knew about it all along. I had a bad feeling about him from the beginning. He was too good to be true, and he truly was. He knew about it all along, and she went to the other mages. They knew about it all along. A lot of the archmages did, and then later it was revealed that, like, basically anyone who had worked there for 5 years knew about this. Siona was not the first person to come across. Everyone knew where the energy was coming from. And we learned that a lot of people were very sadistic and actually kind of liked the power of like stripping the life force out of the Quen, the people who they view as so inferior. And so then Siona's like, okay, that didn't work. We have to come up with another plan. And a lot of the rest of the book was her enacting that plan. And in the end, what they decide is that if the mages aren't going to listen and stop killing the Quen, they need everyone to know about it, and they may need to live without mages. And so Siona creates this plan to show everyone what exactly is powering the things in their world. I wanted to highlight some things about the ending that I really liked. So her and Tomil had this kind of attraction to each other, but Sayona had a lot of embedded racism within her. And though she was working to get out of that, she would often fall back on her old ways of thinking when she got pressured, when she got scared, when she fell out of her depth. And so it was always kind of like a imbalanced relationship, and it probably would have been quite an inappropriate relationship for them to continue. So there was like one kiss from them because they were attractive and they did love each other, but it was like this doomed relationship, kind of like Jack and Rose from Titanic. Like they never would have worked in the real world. This moment in time was okay for them to like have one kiss and then be done. The other thing that I liked was the way Sayona's story ended, as well as Tomil, and then his niece, who he was pretending was his daughter, the baby he saved in the beginning, the way their stories ended. So Sayona ends up going to stand trial. The high mages, archmages want to basically sentence her to death for what she's done of like showing the world these horrible things. They're trying to frame her as like some witch that's like cursed everyone, created this like horrible nightmare for people, and they want to sentence her to death to kind of like tamper down what's happened. And so they can be seen as the good guys still. So what basically ends up happening, she's like, I'm going to be put on trial, and she gives a spell to Tomil and says, finish this spell. It's going to siphon away the energy from that building, basically killing all of the mages in that building. And she ends up going with them. So she ends her story by dying. And what I loved about it was she had finally let go of wanting the story to be all about her being the first high mage that's a woman, all about her being so smart, all about her being able to show everyone right and wrong. She let go of all that and was like, these mages are dangerous. They're killing people. They won't listen to the reason. We need to take them out. And I think in some ways she was like, I might be part of the problem too, because she had so much guilt over all the magic she had used in the past for things and was just overwhelmed by it. And she was like, maybe mages need to not exist. Tomil ends up using the spell. Sayona dies, and in the end gets a legacy of some sort of being a mage who stood up for what was right, and in writing this spell that allowed them to erase most of the mages, because two got away, but one lived. And Tomil and Kara was such an interesting relationship, because Tomil had sort of conformed to the way the city worked, but he raised Kara to be Caldonai, I think it was their tribal name for the Quen, and he had raised her in a different way, taught her to be fierce and not meek, taught her to speak up, taught her to fight back. And he was always worried. He's like, she's going to get herself killed because she does not follow the Tyrans think she should. So I loved, like, in the ending, one of the things was Tomil was like, I don't think we should do this. I think it's dangerous to basically do this big attack on the mages, and it could make things very bad. But in the end, he turns to Kara and he's like, what do you want to do? Because you are young. You are going to be growing up in this world. What do you think should happen here? And she was like, I think we should do it. And he ended up listening to her. And in the end, they end up actually leaving the city because a lot of people are still, the Tyran people are still not just going to flip on a dime and be like, okay, we accept Quen people now that the mages are gone. Like, that's not going to happen. It's going to take decades or centuries to like break things down. So they actually end up leaving at the end. So I just thought it was a really good story about how racism can be so embedded in a society that it becomes normal. I think it was Danielle posted something on Instagram in her stories, like reposted something from someone that was saying, like, America is so rooted in racism that it feels like you're attacking America when you're attacking racism. And I thought that actually beautifully summed up what was in this book. People had a hard time even seeing that there was racism in them because it's so embedded in their religion, in their culture, in their politics. Like, everything is telling them Terran people are better than the Quen. They should be honored if we let them work in a factory that's killing them. They should be honored if we even allow them to be a servant in our mage working places. Like, they were so condescending and disdainful of them. And I loved how we got to see Siona slowly break out of it. And like I said, even at the end, she still wasn't perfect. She probably had a lot of embedded racism that would still come out at times, because a person doesn't just change their thinking overnight. It takes time to, like, break things down. And I just loved how realistic that was. And I think it was such a good story and an important story. Like, I read this in 2025. If you're watching this in the future, it's a time of political upheaval. We have a lot of uncertainty in the United States. A lot of political violence has been going on recently, and not so recently. It's been going on for a while. And I just thought it was, like, such a good thing to remind myself and others of, like, how systems get broken down a little bit. It doesn't happen all at once. It's little by little. Sometimes it's one individual doing something, and then another individual follows, and then another tries something. So yeah, I just thought it was a really, really great book. I will definitely be checking out The Sword of Kaigen at some point, and I definitely want to read whatever Emma Wong comes out with next. This was definitely, like, a 5-star read, and I thank you for coming on this journey with me. I hope you enjoy watching a spoiler vlog every now and then. I think they're pretty fun to film because I like spilling all my thoughts about it, but I know it's also, like, hit and miss whether people are actually interested, because if you haven't read the book, obviously I'm telling you not to watch the video. If you have read Blood Over Brighthaven, I would love to know your thoughts. Do you agree with the things I said? Disagree? I really want to know. And if you want to know more thoughts about this, you should go check out Bailey's channel at Is Bailey Reading, because I read this because of her Shelf This Book Club, and they're going to do a live show at the end of September. So if you're interested in hearing her and Danielle, who picked the book, talk about it, then you should definitely check out Bailey's channel to get the information for the live show there. I will link them both in the channel, Bailey and Danielle, because thank you, Danielle, for picking this book so I read it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.